what the purpose of today is to show you folks, especially the students, whether you're in high school or post-secondary, that the path, it's been quite the journey. And the speakers that you're going to hear from, they're people who have had to carry a very heavy weight. I'm not sure, we'll let them characterize it, whether they'd see it as a burden, but a very important journey that they've taken to create space for Indigenous traditions, teachings, protocols, rituals that are so vital to a community's prosperity and health, and that are being utilized to revitalize and reclaim the strength that flows from those sacred teachings. And also that non-Indigenous communities can certainly learn from. I think that that's going to be the eventual outcome with what's been going on. But a central component of that is the concept, and this is my Cree teaching, that the awasis is a child. It holds sacred gifts from the spirit, and that child, through the nurturing by the community, by the relations, as opposed to their biological connections, but that everyone in the community holds a really important role to play, that gift that child holds can be uncovered, and it can be used to grow and benefit the community. And so the speakers that you're going to hear from, that's what they've been doing, albeit often in a non-Indigenous court or rules, but by playing by those rules and holding true to the teachings, the 7 teachings, which includes love and the concept of all my relations, they've created space for you students to be able to enter in. And now our system is being reclaimed, and it requires your knowledge, your skills, your views, and your language and ceremony to begin to restore wellness within our families, our relations, and our communities. And it's interesting, in this Makokas article, she talks about wellness workers, good relationship workers. And I won't try to pronounce the Cree term because I won't do it properly. But it's an important role that's always been in those communities. And Leona Makokas talks about how it doesn't have to be necessarily Indigenous people who fill those roles. Again, the tenet of all my relations applies. But the need is, the key is to want to learn from the communities and figure out what those rituals are that help grow the awasis and reveal their gifts. So I welcome you all, and I really look forward to you hearing from our treasured speakers. And I'll ask Irene Morin to come forward, and she's going to provide a bit of a prayer and a bit more explanation about the program.
Sorry. Hi, Anthony. Good afternoon, although I was going to say good morning, but it's, I've been here since 7 o'clock this morning. No, I'm just kidding.
You've been making bannock since 7.
I was making bannock at 7 o'clock this morning, yeah. So anyway, it's always such a pleasure to come and be a part of this very special day. I've been involved with the Indigenous law day. What is it you call
it? Indigenous Legal Career Day.
Indigenous Legal Career Day. And I have been asked to participate at past get-togethers at the City Hall. And it's something I think is very, very important for these fellows to have started and to continue to do it. And I was asked to come and say the prayer, so I will say a prayer and ask all of you to join me, because I was thinking this morning, what am I going to say? What should we pray for? And I think that I would like you all to join me in saying a prayer for, all the poor people suffering in Ukraine, the families of the young children who were killed in Texas the other day, and all the people in the world who are suffering. And also to pray for everybody who is tuning in to Zoom today. We'll pray for one another and all our families at home. And just anybody else that you would like to offer prayers for. How noch tawinan kita tamskat nan mina kinanaskum tanan kutak miugis gawe miya kagige mana kagwed simta kamam sito tatak tapewi sihiyak tapewi tapmiyak tapoy nesto mana kagige mamsito tatak kagige pewi sihiyak pewi tapmiyak mitunig kuas kwam to neitsagan tamiat seguta sino kape pik squets mitunig kuas kiway tamam skutakik mituni ayman megwats pukite hayama awasage nan pai tsek awasage nanokte kate tsek mina egwa kete ayak mina Guano ega sino ego ego guategita me guasumo. Ego sino que enote ego etsimda que mamsito tata the pewitsi hatik dai sinim nanak kagege e mamsito tata netuan tapwe. Kinanas kumtenan pugisi iwayose e witsi hiya kakwetimda. Ego nemos nanak no nanak awasisak kahki awasino huta was kitaskami kayatsik mitunaguesk despai yakki way kap matsuwa matun kumyuk matsuak kinanaskum tenan ewitsia tasaway matsik kahki awasak into tamata Ugumina wasta kagi uhme kinto o pigitsik kagi maskami tsugai sinuak otowasim suawa ego nekmina tasaway matsik uksame sin totamata no tawinan hi
Irene, one thing I was going to ask, Irene gifted an eagle feather, if you can see. And we have this nice case for it to protect it. And the eagle feather for my teachings is sacred, and it represents the 7 sacred gifts of love, honesty, humility, respect, truth, patience, and wisdom. So Justice Nielsen and Chief Judge Redmond, they're going to speak, but now with the courts having opened the door and welcoming the use of this sacred tool to give evidence. What can you say, Irene? What's the importance of this? You know, you yourself having attended residential school, coming out as a survivor, and I would say a thriver, you know, and someone who has embraced the Cree tradition of all my relations, where you've demonstrated those 7 principles, you know, love and respect, even when it could be hurt and anger and blame. You still do everything you can to teach non-Indigenous people about a better path. And so with Indigenous governance being restored and with child welfare changing, where now the nations will be able to create their own laws, but also in the current system, they're creating paths to reconnect their people to their communities. What's the importance of this tool?
Okay, the elder who gave me this, when I told him that I wanted to pass an eagle feather over to a friend of mine who has really taken an interest in doing things a little differently than the norm. because it has been a while now that they have allowed, the courts have allowed for us to use an eagle feather rather than taking the Bible to swear on. And, you know, it's, I thought it was the most wonderful thing that the courts allowed for us to do this, because a lot of people have such faith and such reverence for the eagle feather because it symbolizes the strength of the connection between Creator and his people. This eagle feather was given to me to pass on to Anthony so that he could use it with the work that he does. And knowing that he has a real passion for, you know, things that he does and everything that he works for and works with has such significance related to the native traditions, the teachings of our ancestors. And so with that, I would say I was very honored to, and very pleased to be able to give him this, to pass this on to him, that so that they can use it. He works with the Western Cree tribal office a lot, and he mentioned that, you know, they could use an eagle feather in the work that they do, and just acknowledge that the eagle feather is a symbol of strength and a symbol of honesty and truth and all the other teachings that come with it. And so it was with pleasure that I gave this to Anthony, and we had an elder bless the eagle feather for him. And I also brought, and here's your eagle feather, I also brought for him this morning a nice big fat sweetgrass, braided sweetgrass. And they're pretty scarce right now because the sweetgrass is, you know, usually it's just now sprouting, and you know, it's harvested in the fall. But I just happen to have a nice braid here, and it's still green. It hasn't quite dried up.
Wow.
So this gift is for you and all the work that you do with the Western Cree tribal people. Uh-huh.
So we're gonna ask Gordon Ward and Jesse Morin. They're gonna start us out with our opening song. Aye, aye. Justice Nielsen, he was appointed to QB, that's Queen's Bench, in April 2007. He really enjoys his work. He's now the Associate Chief Justice. That's been since May 2019. He came in just before the pandemic. And so he's been working very closely with Chief Justice Moreau on responding to that, creating safety for the public and the people that work within the system, and also ensuring access to justice, which is so important. So we're very thankful that Justice Nielsen is with us today, and it's a pleasure welcome you to the group, sir. I'll hand the Zoom mic over to you. I'll mute myself.
Thank you, Anthony. Tense, everyone. On behalf of the Court of Queen's Bench of Alberta, I'm very pleased to welcome you to the 6th Indigenous Students Legal Career Day. I want to speak to you for a couple of minutes about the importance of our collective participation in this event. In the spirit of the 2015 Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada's calls to action, a number of organizations, including our court, that is the Court of Queen's Bench, and the Provincial Court, are joining together virtually to share experiences and explore a variety of careers in the justice system. Our courts are focusing greater attention on the TRC calls to action. The calls to action are in large part about respect, education, and inclusion for reconciliation. I also think the calls to action are about relationships and communities. The program that has been planned for you reflects these ideas throughout, beginning with the beautiful drumming ceremony that we just heard, and during the opening ceremony at the Enoch Cree Nation. Anthony mentioned my story a little bit, and indeed it began when I was born in Innisfail many years ago. I'm not going to acknowledge how many, and I was raised on a family farm in the 50s and 60s. I attended, as Anthony mentioned, school in Sylvan Lake. To be totally frank, I wasn't aware of the impact of residential schools as a youth. It was only later in life that I had the opportunity to be educated about residential schools. My education, as well as the education of other judges and staff on our court, is ongoing. For example, many of us have participated in blanket ceremonies. Many of us have participated in sweetgrass ceremonies and sweats. And many have also recently taken the course, The Path, a course about Indigenous cultural understanding, and I look forward to learning more. Later in the program, you will hear the story of another member of our court, Queen's Bench Justice Cheryl Arcand Kootenay, who is also a member of the Alexander First Nation. A recent part of Justice Arcand Kootenay's story involves national recognition, as she was just awarded the Inspire Law and Justice 2022 award for her lifelong work with Indigenous children and families. Among some of her important accomplishments, Justice Arcand Kootenay introduced healing circles in family law matters and judge-led case conferences in child protection matters in provincial court. She was the first treaty person in Alberta to be appointed to our court. We are very grateful that Justice Arcand Kootenay is a member of our court, helping to connect the Indigenous community with our court community. It is hoped that her presence on our court enables people who enter our courtrooms to participate and to feel heard. Our court has undertaken other means of outreach to Indigenous communities. We, along with the Provincial Court of Alberta, have begun a pilot project to enable Indigenous and other people charged with crimes to participate in community-based restorative justice processes. We're working to expand smudging ceremonies in all of our courts province-wide, and we continue to focus on cultural awareness, education, and respect for diversity and inclusion. This is all very important work, but we cannot do it alone. We need help from the Indigenous communities and from young people like those that are attending the seminar today. We hope that by attending the Indigenous Legal Career Day and similar programs, you will create further opportunities for reconciliation through the sharing of your stories and ideas. Every dialogue helps. Even the smallest opportunity used wisely can change lives dramatically. Hi.
We have Chief Judge Redmond of the Provincial Court, and unfortunately, he had an injury. So definitely a reasonable excuse not to be present and connected with us. We're praying for him, thinking about his well-being, and it was really important for him to be here. Thankfully, what he shared last year was very inspiring and equally inspiring when it comes to this year's message about Indigenous-led governance in the child welfare system. So I'm going to share my screen. with everyone, and we're going to play the video from his speech from last year.
Hello, bonjour, oki, tanze, awasisak, Nitaniko Derek Redmond. My Blackfoot name is Mountain Man. I was born in the Paw in the north of Manitoba at the confluence of the Saskatchewan and Pasquia rivers in the land of the Swampy Cree, where the rocks of the Canadian Shield from the shores of 100,000 lakes. Deep lakes, cold lakes, lakes where the pickerel lie deep below the waves and deeper still below the ice. Ice so thick a truck can park for half the length of the year. I lived in a house that was covered with tin, a home for my mother and father and sister and brothers and me, and for a talking crow named Jimmy, who would peck the door and say, "My feet are cold." Like the wind that blew through the black spruce, we wandered to Flin Flon, then Swift Current, and finally to Lethbridge, perched on the banks of the Old Man River in the shadow of Chief Mountain, deep in the heart of Blackfoot country, where Nappy lives. I did not grow up with Smiths and Jones and Wilsons and Browns, but on the other side of the tracks that separated us from them. I grew up with the Barazonis, Luchanskis, Merkoviches, Wongs, and Kitaguchis. We were Northsiders. We were blindsided. Our fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters worked when they could, when jobs could be had, chasing want ads, looking for launch pads. I was the skinny kid with a lisp and a name that made people wonder, was he? It was the days of Vietnam, or I don't give a damn, of Woodstock and dreadlocks, of '67's celebration, and of Chief Dan George's lament for Confederation, of LSD and acid and the separation of classes. I had choices. We all have choices. I chose games, not for fame, but to run and throw and catch and play on the street with a stick in my hand, or in the park with no one in the stands, just me and my friends. It was grand, feeling one with the land as I ran with my feet bare on the sand. And I chose classes and books and school. I made a plan and changed it, and another plan and changed it. It is okay to wander, but wander with a purpose. It is okay to take your time, but keep going even when you are resting. Fly high, but not so high that you forget where you came from. Fly high, but not so high that you forget who helped you get there. Fly high, but not so high that darkness surrounds you and you can no longer see where you are going. If you crash down, reach up and ask someone to help you. If you are doing well, reach down to pick someone up. Choose your friends wisely. If you have no friends, then be a friend. Remember, you are connected. We are all connected. Blackfoot, Cree, Inuit, Metis, English, French, black, brown, yellow, and white, young and old, man, women, gay and straight, Muslim and Christian, and everyone in between. We are connected. We come from the same place. We are all on a journey. I am not Blackfoot, but I am your brother. I am not Cree, but we come from the same creator. I am not Inuit, but I am indigenous to this earth, the same earth that sustains and nourishes you. I am not Métis, but we are all brought here by a mother. So don't bother. Don't let worry restrain you. Indecision will contain you. Break out, break free. Go with breakneck speed. The world is waiting. It's waiting for you and you and you and you and you and you. My Blackfoot name is Mistak Nina, Mountain Man. Thank you.
She's Cree, a member of Woodland Cree First Nation, situated on Treaty 8 territory. Currently lives in Edmonton, Alberta with her family. She's an ultra trail runner, also possibly life in mind, having a physical basis. Perhaps one of the reasons she keeps herself healthy and young. She's a wife, a mother to 3 sons, a kokum to a 4-year-old named Nico. And she's a student at law at Cooper Regal LLP in Sherwood Park, where she aims towards justice for Indigenous peoples. And she's already been working on that prior to law school. From my understanding, she was a paralegal. So she's worked through different roles within the system. And she really embodies the concept of Nipa Wista Matuwin. Matuwin. It's something that Irene taught me, a term that means to stand up for your people. And she's stood up for her people in different roles. She's worked on files like the 60s scoop, the Newfoundland and Labrador residential school claim, forced sterilization, of which her mother is the representative plaintiff. She was a president at the Indigenous Law Students Association at the U of A. That's where she just finished her law degree, and is part of a whole bunch of other organizations. She's also the race director for the Every Child Matters Run and Walk here in Edmonton. So Google that, get involved. Hopefully there's a similar one in Calgary. If you're rural, come out to the city. Whether you're one of these fans or not. And but Anita, we're very thankful, and we welcome you to the group here, to our relations. And so I hand it over to you, and look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Tanse, I'm so honored to be here today. And I really love that you referenced Nipuwastimisuan, because I got a tattoo before I started law school. It was just after I started law school. And it was, I had watched the Colton Bushi story, and that is the name of, that's the name that's on the story. And that just solidified why I went to law school. And I got it tattooed on my arm, actually. And it's reminded me the entire time through law school why I was there. It was not for my career, it's always for my community. And I've worked a very long time to get here. I was like, yeah, you're right. I'm a kukum. I am 45 years old. I am a young kukum. Yes, I had my first son when I was 17 years old. So I was a single mother, and I had a great family support. So thankfully for that. And I pursued education for a very long time. And I always wanted to be a lawyer. But it just, as life got, as you get older and you start seeing a lot of the barriers in place, especially for Indigenous people, especially for Indigenous females, that became almost impossible, an impossible dream. But it was always there in my heart. I'm absolutely still in awe that my journey as a law student at the University of Alberta is over now. And I began this new phase of my life as an articling student, yes, a former paralegal. So I've been with the same firm since 2016, and I've been very, very fortunate to have found this firm to be able to work on these very important matters and continue to work on them. But it really my law journey stemmed from me wanting to protect my family legally and help my community in whatever way I possibly could do that. Because you see so much injustices everywhere around. We see it, and we see it constantly, again and again. 30 years ago, 45 years ago, and it's still here. It's still happening. Yes, my desire to enter law school, yes, later in life, absolutely seemed like a far-reaching, almost impossible dream to achieve. It was. I think my own insecurities, it seemed like law school was something that smarter people did, younger people, richer people, most, especially not me, a Nehia, a squeal Cree woman who had once been a high school dropout and a unwed mother at the age of 17. But I'd always wanted to be a lawyer. I had a friend message me on Instagram who I hadn't spoken to in a very long time, and she found our junior high yearbook, and I had never seen it because we could never afford to buy it. So she sent me the screenshot, and there was my picture, and underneath it, it said, ambitions, and it said to be an actress or a lawyer. So I've been wanting to be a lawyer since I was 15 years old, probably before that. And I will be in a year. So I'm very excited. The last 3 years have been packed with major life-changing experiences that absolutely I will never forget. And has changed me in ways I am still discovering, and a lot of us, right? So I still cannot believe that my first year really finished during when a global pandemic hit, and the uncertainty of life, what life would bring was absolutely very scary for all of us. And it also brought opportunities, though, at the Law Center to participate and partner with, like, the Indigenous Law Students Association as a 1L representative my first year, and then president my second and third year, and partner with organizations like Level Justice, which is we did Indigenous youth initiatives, which we went to local high school, like it was JP High, and we did a week-long course about introducing to the legal system and doing like a mock court, and that was really, really cool experience. And then just my focus as a president was just in growing our community at the Law Center, creating safe spaces. And we went from having like a dozen members to like over 50 during my presidency. And we even got an Indigenous representative on the Law Students Association, which is something that was never there before. So representation was so important. Education is so important. And the more that we know, the more we can arm ourselves with the tools we need to succeed and to protect ourselves and help our community. So also keeping in mind that knowledge comes in many forms, and it's important to remember that that includes Indigenous knowledge as well. And that's something that I want to continue to pursue always. I grew up on a reserve with no legal role models. There were no Indigenous lawyers, let alone women Indigenous lawyers that I could look up to. And I think if I had had that representation, maybe that I would pursue law earlier in life. Sadly, I did not meet an Indigenous female lawyer until I was like in my mid-30s. So that representation is so important. And for students to always have someone to be inspired by is everything. And there are so many great examples and role models now. And even here today, for example, Justice Arcand is a huge inspiration for me personally. She allowed me in my first year to attend court with her and do a judge shadow program. And it was literally the coolest experience and really inspired me. I am so forever grateful for that. And really, I would not be here if it weren't for the people who believed in me, my family's support, my community support. And that community is here for anyone who who's maybe on the fence of wanting to enter law or there, but that community is here to help you the entire way. And I am definitely part of that community. Please reach out if you have any questions or anything like that. And I guess the last thing I just want to say is that we are a community and we're a growing community, and to never stop believing in yourself or reaching for your dreams, because it's never too late to chase. So really dream big and never place limits on yourself, because there are no limits, they're just barriers, and we will kick them down together. So, Kanaskum Tanawa.
Thank you very much, Anita, for the important message. And next, we're going to hear from Brittany Sunshine. She's the director of the Child, Youth, and Family Enhancement Program with Western Cree Tribal Council. And it's, I think she's going to talk a bit about what she's doing on the ground. So it's social work, and what they're doing is working within the construct of the current legislation, but they're infusing it and essentially reclaiming their governance over their own system, traditional system. And of course, that needs to be reimagined. Yeah. And that's the role that you students are so vitally needed for. And you could hear that with Anita in what she said, that there certainly is a struggle that has been fought, but it's a good fight. And it's created space. It's created space for you folks to come in, and there's the necessity, the need for your knowledge and skill set to restore wellness to your communities or to other Indigenous communities who we can learn from and work on behalf of for them and their people. So Brittany is one of those people. She has 5 children. ages 6 to 18. And Brittany, if you want, oh, there you are. Hello. So Brittany, her Cree name is Heaven Morningstar Woman. So I tend to call her different variations, different names. So thankfully I have a few to choose from. But her eldest child is 18. So another surprise. And her daughter's at the U of A. Brittany herself attended Concordia for her BA. The U of C for her master's, and she's worked for Western Cree since November of 2016. So you'll see, guys, I mean, Brittany's history, she's, powerful relations who have guided her life and have revealed her gifts, which are directly benefiting the community. And she's doing the same now for other families. So we're very thankful to have you, Brittany. I know public speaking isn't your forte, but you're great at it, and because you speak truth. So welcome, and I'll pass it over to you.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brittany Sunshine. I firstly would like to thank the elder Irene Morin for the prayer, Anthony and the Alberta Criminal Justice Association for inviting me to come and speak here. Also to the panelists and to the participants for being in attendance to share some knowledge and because that's always a good thing to be able to share together. So again, I'm Brittany Sunshine. I am from Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation. Like Anita, I was also a young mother, so I was 17 also when I had my daughter. And so it was a struggle. And so but I've always wanted to help people. And I just wasn't sure what that was for me. So like he said, I went through my BA and I tried sociology, got into social work and loved it, right? And so I've been in a couple of different fields in terms of social work, and I've ended up here. So currently I'm the director for Western Cree Tribal Council Child, Youth and Family Enhancement agency here out in Sturgeon. So we cover Sturgeon Lake, Horse Lake, and Duncan's First Nations out here. So we are a delegated First Nation authority, and there's a number of delegated First Nation authorities all over Alberta and across Canada. They're called First Nation Children and Family Service Agencies that work. So what we do here, so we follow the same policies and legislation as the province of Alberta that serve every Alberta family and children. But I think we do this in a very different way, and a very important different way, right? So here at our agency, I can only speak for our agency. I know a lot of the other agencies are doing all this hard work too. But for us, we're working very hard to ensure that we're infusing the culture and history and family systems that are native to the communities we work with. So how we do this is by using the knowledge that we have as First Nations people. So I grew up in Sturgeon. We were always connected with Horse Lake in terms of baseball or hockey or whatever that is. And so our communities were close. Same with Duncan's. I have family out in Duncan's. So we draw on just being First Nations people and what that's like. So the traumas and the issues and the concerns that we have, right? And but also drawing on the family systems, right? So the kinship systems, where I don't even understand sometimes what a great aunt is. So I have to really think about that sometimes, because all of our Cookums sisters or brothers, those are our Muslims and Cookums too, right? And so it's really drawing on that system, what we grew up with. And so we always knew we were connected to everyone in the community, right? In some way. So it's drawing on that as part of our program. The experiences that we have living in the nations. So there's quite a few of us who work here who are from either Horse Lake, Sturgeon Lake, Duncan's. And so we live in the nations. We know what some of the issues are, and are trying to work towards helping be the solution to some things, right? And so there's that. We work by listening to our communities, and this is through conversations, annual meetings, and feedbacks we get from our leadership. So we're trying to create a program that's really adapted to the needs of our nations, to ensure that we're doing the best service that we can, right? It's not purposeful to have a program that doesn't allow for that input from the nations. So that's what we're really focusing on as well too. But we're also continuing to learn about the communities and their needs as we grow and change. There's lots of growth, there's lots of changes going on all the time. So we're really making sure that we're learning along with the nations. Sorry, I feel like I'm really saying quite a bit. So I apologize for that. I'm a little bit nervous.
No, you're doing great. Brittany, and just in terms of the 7 teachings, it's something that you and I talk about. How do you find that is being infused in your work? I understand you guys do prevention and intervention work. How's that being infused in your work with the caseworkers you direct? And what kind of benefits are you seeing in with the family files?
In terms of the 7 sacred teachings. So for me personally, that was part of my own journey, right? So my father was a residential school survivor. My mother, their family is very religious. So it was a different, but there was some teachings, right? So I think that a lot of the Indigenous families have some teachings that they grew up with, and maybe they're not fully aware that that's part of our culture, that's part of our traditions, right? And until they meet somebody who brings them those teachings, or they sit down or go to ceremony for the first time or something like that, and it clicks in, right? Oh no, that's why we do that, right? So that was so that's the journey I'm on too. So I wasn't brought up in ceremony and that type of thing. So that's something that I've really been looking for in the last couple of years. And I think that's a journey all of us as Indigenous people will take at some point, or we won't, right? But we'll take some of those teachings with us that we grew up with. So so as part of my journey, it was going into ceremony, meeting with elders, talking with healers and that type of thing. So with the 7 sacred teachings, that was something that I take with me. And so I remember being a student in high school or whatever, elementary, and there would be posters of the 7 sacred teachings on the wall. And I would say, okay, great, 7 sacred teachings, like it was a stagnant thing. But coming into my own journey of finding out about our culture and our traditions and that type of thing, that those are not posters on the wall. Those are aimed at how we live our lives, right? It's like guiding us on how we become good people. And I always do this where it's like, centering us, that good place. And I feel like that when I'm in ceremony and that type of thing, coming from that good place. So it's really always reading or talking about the 7 sacred teachings and making sure that you're a really good role model for people and living that good life. So for me, that's kind of what we've try to push out, is to live that good life and make sure that we're doing things in a good way. With being honest. Honesty is crucial in our work, and being truthful and having respect and that love to do what we do. And hopefully, at some point, I'm hoping to bring it all together to be that good person. And live that good life and walk on the good road. So that's really what we're trying to push out into our programs. So we are a really heavy prevention program with us in our program. We're trying to offer programs out to our families, like providing car seats and new baby supplies for newborns, mental wellness programming. We're moving heavily into bringing back cultural events, and that's different teachers coming out to the nations and starting that up if people are wanting to. We're seeing a big revitalization and wanting to learn more about for people to go on their own journeys, right? And so we're really working towards bringing those out to the nations and revitalizing that, bringing that back, taking that back for our nations. And so we're really focused on that. Yeah.
Thank you. What opportunities are there at Western Cree?
Oh Lord, all kinds of opportunities. So we're growing. Our prevention program is always growing. We're looking for prevention workers. We're looking for caseworkers who can do the good work out there with our families, like I was talking about. We're looking for foster care workers. We're working towards opening up some preventative homes, having family support workers. We're going to go as big as we possibly can preventatively, and we're looking for people who are willing to do that.
So essentially,
work with us.
You contact Brittany Sunshine. Richard Morasti, he's Cree from Green Lake, Saskatchewan. And Irene, I think, said something when she heard Richard's name. Irene is Richard's mother. And in Cree culture, you can have little mothers. It doesn't have to be biological. It's the tenet of the principle of one's relations. So he's from Green Lake, Saskatchewan, a criminal lawyer, practiced child welfare before, but primarily practices criminal law, works all throughout the province. When I was a prosecutor, in different courts, people would really cry out for Richard to serve them. So he's in high demand. We're very thankful to have him here.
Anthony said, I'm Richard Morasti. I've been practicing law close to 20 years in Edmonton. I have a bit of a cold, so you have to bear with me. By way of background, and that's the first thing that Irene said when she met me when I was 22 years old. I was playing ball for her reserve, Enoch, and I'll brag a little bit. I won the MVP in the tournament, and she was giving the trophy. But she heard me talking Cree, and that's when she adopted me. She adopted me as her son a long, long time ago, and she's been in my corner every step of the way for probably over 40 years. I have other people who have helped me along the way, mostly women. Trish Montour inspired me to go back to law school. And I also have a white mother by the name of Louise Hayes. But I was born to a 17-year-old mother as well, and a Munial father who disowned me, didn't admit paternity. I was scooped out of the hospital at 7 days old by child welfare and put into a foster home. And my 19-year-old, my aunt was 19 years old, she's in her 80s now, told my grandfather, this is your first grandson. This is not a dog that you should give away. We have to get him back. So the old man, my grandfather, Narcissus Morasti, said, see if you can get him back. So they did get me back. It's probably unheard of in those days that child welfare agreed to send me back home. So I was 3 months old by the time I got home. And then my grandmother and I moved to Green Lake, and we lived in a house that had a dirt floor. That was the first house we moved into. And then when I was about 8, we moved into another house, government housing, close to the school. And I attended St. Pascal School in Green Lake until I was 14. And then we moved to Meadow Lake so I could go to high school. And I have a real interest in sports. So I played all the high school sports. There was a handful of us Indigenous kids in the school. And then I graduated and moved on. But my grandmother was very sickly. So she passed away. Sorry, painful for me to talk about that part of my life, that era. When I was 18 to 20, she died, and I kind of fell apart. And I did go to university, but there's a story to that too. Right after she passed away, I got into trouble, and I was in front of a judge by the name of Henry Goliath, and I told him that I wanted to be a lawyer someday. But anyway, I told him that I wanted to go to university and that I couldn't go to jail. But he had, he said, if you're really serious, you can apply from inside. So he gave me 4 months jail. I was in jail for 4 months when I was right after my grandma died. It was a really bad period of my life, but I actually got my acceptance letter inside of the Prince Albert Correctional Center, and I started in May of that year, the year that I was 20, in university in Saskatchewan. Attended 1 year, moved to University of Alberta, and worked in a meat packing plant and bouncing at the Royal Hotel, which is near the courthouse. So kind of a rough Skid Row bar. I was a 20-year-old bouncer there, 21. Eventually, I decided to go to University of Alberta and was in phys ed, jumping around from faculty to faculty. And then I managed to somehow get into law school in 1981 or 82 without a degree. I had a lot of university, but no degree. And that didn't go well. I ended up, I was still working in the bar business. I ended up dropping out, and then I got married. I had 5 boys, and 2 of my boys from my first relationship lived in Ottawa. So when my 2 youngest were 2 and 4, Andrew and Jackson, I decided to go to law school in Ottawa, and I was in my late 30s, and ended up working full-time at Indian Affairs and the Métis National Council, and attended law school full-time, and I graduated in 2000 and got called sometime shortly after that. And I've been practicing law, criminal law in Northern Alberta and Central Alberta and Edmonton area since then. But my journey was not easy, but it was something that my grandma told me when I was young. So basically what I just said is my grandma told me never to give up. Keep on trying. And your language, don't ever forget that. You'll be proud of it someday. So I carry on average of 150 files, probably probably 140 of them are criminal law files, and I love what I do, helping people. My grandma was a helper in our community, and when we had wakes and people passed away, she was there helping the family grieving, making sandwiches and decorating the place for the wake. So and always, even though we were poor, always fed whoever came to the door. So that's kind of how I was raised, to help people. And as far as becoming a lawyer, those of you who are students out there that want to become a lawyer, actually pursue any type of education, the only advice I can give you, I suppose, is akamimo. That's keep on keeping on in English. Don't give up. There will be setbacks. You will face racism. You will face a lot of obstacles along the way. But the main thing is don't give up. That's what my grandma used to tell me, and that's been what I tried to tell my 5 boys. That my two older boys are twins. One's a lawyer in Toronto. The other one is a stockbroker in Toronto. My 3rd oldest, Michael, is finishing off a degree at University of Victoria. He wants to be a lawyer as well. My 2nd youngest, Andrew, will be convocating on the 15th of June from U of A, finishing a degree that he started in the US when he's down there playing baseball. And Jackson, my youngest, is going into 3rd year law school and works for SLS. It's probably my proudest achievement is my boys. Nobody in my family went to university, much less finished high school. And I started a trend. All 5 of my boys will have degrees within the next calendar year. They should all be done. And then that's a bit of my story. But the only thing I can tell you is you don't give up. I mean, not too many people can say that they got their acceptance letter in university from inside the walls of a jail, but I was 20 years old and reeling from my grandmother passing away. Thank God she never saw that, because that would have devastated her. Thank you. I'm very grateful for an opportunity to speak to you all. Anthony, I want to pay tribute to my late sister, Patricia Montour-Okene. Can you hear me on that? She was,
Yeah, we can hear
she
you.
was, Patricia Montour-Okene was a woman that I met. She was teaching at the University of Ottawa Law School, and she had married, she's a Mohawk woman, and wrote a book called Thunder in My Soul, and other writings. You'll see her in academic journals. But she said, you have to go back to law school. You have to, and use your skills to work in the trenches. Don't go work for government, work in the trenches. So that's what I've been doing. She inspired me tremendously, and many of the students will probably see some of her writings. But as I said, it's the people that have helped me, my journey, have been women, Indigenous women, and non-Indigenous women like Louise Hayes. Without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I want to pay a tribute to my grandmother, to Irene, Louise Hayes, Patricia Montour, and many, many others. Denise Lightning might be on here as well. She's my sister as well. They inspire me. They're the ones that they help us. And Anita Cardinal, make me proud. Accept.
Justice Kootenay, if you want to activate your camera and your mic. Excellent. Hello. So, folks, Justice Kootenay, Cheryl Arcand Kootenay, completed her law degree in 1992. Initially, she was a judge of the provincial court in St. Paul, and really important location with confluence or mix of Cree and French and a whole bunch of other populations, but the court is certainly there was overrepresented by Cree people, and having Justice Arcand Kootenay there, along with Judge Ladisser, has made a big difference. And Judge Ladisser is still there. Justice Arcand Kootenay, she was promoted or elevated, if you want to use that word, to the Court of Queen's Bench. And with Justice Nielsen, you're next door to him, Justice Arcand Kootenay. So speaking of all my relations, he was just, when I spoke to him last weekend, he was saying that you were just in his office speaking with him and sharing information or asking questions. So Cheryl's a Cree woman from Alexander First Nation, Treaty 6. She was born in Edmonton. She earned her BA in political science and an LLB from the University of Alberta. Currently, at least at the time, I don't know if you're done it yet, but you were working on your Master's of Law and Dispute Resolution at Osgoode. And in practice, importantly, and I recall this when I was at the U of A speaking to law students there some years ago, and you were speaking to the students as well. And I recall what you said about child welfare and the need for Indigenous knowledge and direction and guidance in that sphere of practice. So she was Director's Counsel for an Indigenous oriented family services organization, a delegated First Nation in Musqueam, and also for Alexis First Nation. She was also counsel for children through the Office of the Child Youth Advocate. Every speaker has been very important, and but I'm not going to say we saved the best for last, but you're certainly someone who's led the way in terms of the lawyers when it comes to child welfare and creating a better system, renewed system. So we're very thankful to have you here, Justice Arcand Kootenay, and take it away.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Anthony, for inviting me to speak here today. And thank you, Elder Morin, for all of your support here as well. I also want to thank Justice Nielsen for your kind words. I was not expecting those words today, and I got a little emotional as you were saying it. So I'm glad I've had a little bit of time to collect myself. And I also want to thank the other speakers for sharing their stories today as well. Today, I'm here to share my story in 3 minutes, and I've been sort of time stamping the other speakers, and 3 minutes isn't really a lot of time. So I'm going to try and move very quickly, and I'm going to apologize in advance for that. In Chief Judge Redmond's introduction this morning that was played, he talks about Chief Dan George's Lament for Confederation. I don't know if any of you have ever read it, but I actually recently read it twice. It was hanging on the wall of a condo in Vancouver on First Nations land. And I read it there. And I also carry all of Chief John George's books as well. He's always been one of my inspirations. I encourage you to read him, or even simply try and find and read his Lament for Confederation. So again, he's always been one of my inspirations as a lawyer, and even as a judge. When I had my ceremony as a provincial court judge, I actually quoted from one of Chief John George's books. Other inspirations and role models that I've had growing up were Willie Littlechild and Douglas Cardinal, who's an architect. Because if you've ever heard me speak before, heard my story, I actually decided on the law as a career very young. I decided probably in junior high. And I think the reason I decided on that was because Douglas Cardinal was in the news at the time for the buildings that he was creating, for instance, St. Albert Place, Grand Prairie, buildings out there. And Willie Littlechild is the first Indigenous lawyer. So those were my role models growing up from junior high. I was asked to talk about who I am, where I came from, how I got here, and where I'm going. My father was a residential school. I'm going to call him an escapee. He ran away from residential school. And as an adult, I think about that now with residential schools and all of the information and what that means. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful that he was an escapee, because perhaps I would not be here today. And perhaps that's where my love of running came from as well. As like Anita, I was also used to be an ultramarathon runner. And those are some of the things that I enjoy in my I guess in part in my free time, in my spare time. I was a lawyer for 25 years in child welfare, primarily in child welfare for all of those 25 years. It was an area of law that I enjoyed, I was passionate about, and it's something that I carry with me through to today and carry through with me as a provincial court judge. And some of the things that I tried to do as a provincial court judge with the support of my assistant chief judge as well in the region, the case management, case pilot project, as well as healing circles and other things that I was trying to do as a provincial court judge. As a QB justice, I'm still trying to find my footing and determine how I can make a difference there as well. But I think my goal has always been to make a difference for my family, for my community, and for my people, and encourage other Indigenous people to follow their dreams as well. The importance of education, the importance of setting goals, the importance of having dreams. For all the students that are listening today, don't be afraid to dream big. Don't be afraid to have those dreams. Don't be afraid to share those dreams with other people, because those people that are around you, your natural supports, your community supports, any professional supports, your teachers, those people will help you move towards those dreams and will support you along the way. Again, as a QB justice, my goal is to respect, enforce, and try and include Indigenous laws into my decisions when appropriate, because as a judge, my voice is heard through decisions that I make. I think there's a lot more that I could say, but I'm time limited. So I think one of the greatest gifts that I can offer today is myself. Please feel free, any of the students or educators that are out there and listening today, to reach out to me and contact me. And if I'm available and I'm able to make the time or will make the time, I would love to come and share more of my story or support you in any way possible in terms of, again, who I am, where I came from, how I got here, and where I'm going. I think one thing that I might also say is where I'm going is perhaps, I think I'm here. I'm happy to be here. My passion has always been the law, and I share that passion with other people that are here listening as well, other friends and colleagues, Denise Lightning, Richard Morasti, Susan Rawlings, a lot of other friends that are listening, Colleen Connolly, Troy McLeod, Anita, whom I've met as well. We share that passion. So anything that we can do to help you reach your dreams or reach your goals, please feel free to reach out. So I think I'm just going to end it there. Again, 3 minutes isn't a lot of time to share myself and my story, but again, I'm prepared to give more time on another day in a different forum if necessary, if people wanted to reach out and chat with me. So thank you so much again. Hi, all my relations.
Hi. Thank you. And folks, we'll, everyone in attendance will send out contacts for the speakers. Thank you, Justice Arcand for your time, your insights. Folks, and I'll just let you guys know, Denise Lightning another powerhouse, went to U of T, extremely talented in so many ways, very intellectual, a thoughtful person, but has fought in the trenches for a long time. She went from legal services, Aboriginal legal services, before taking an in-house position with the First Nation in Ontario. So she had a practice out there before she returned home to Muscatcheese, where she's from. She practiced with Willie Littlechild, and after being admitted to the bar in 1999, she's practiced on the Four Nations Cree territory, which serves Edmonton, Ponoka, Wetaskiwin, and the surrounding area. She's been awarded as a leader for Indigenous women in justice, an active member of the IBA, and someone that I get to work with as well. So I also feel very fortunate to have some experience with Denise. Mr. McLeod, Troy McLeod, he's also connected. Hello. He's Métis from down south in Alberta, practices child protection, criminal defense, previously practiced in real estate, and he articled with Lionel Chartrand, very well-respected man. And Troy and I also work together often and share ideas. His practice, his firm is called Bear Claw Law. The logo for his firm was designed by his mother, a talented Métis artist and singer, and a powerful woman who unfortunately has passed. And Troy wasn't sure if he'd be able to be here today, but it's really nice to see your face there, Troy. You should make sure to show your cool tie, because I think the rest of it has a neat design. So he's a fighter. And then lastly, Sarah Sinclair, last but definitely not least, member of Peguis, Treaty 1 Manitoba. Tanya Capo also connected, I believe, from Peguis. Sarah, in 2019, she was hired as the first lawyer for the Indigenous Justice Program at Calgary Legal Guidance. And Sarah, you'll have to pronounce the title for the program. So she runs that program down south. And she's also part of the Human Rights Commission's Indigenous Council, one of the founding members of the Indigenous Lawyers Forum, which is also co-founded by Andrea Maynard, Red River Métis lady. Sarah's fantastic. I needed her bio this weekend, and I said, Sarah, why didn't you get it to me? She said, I was on the land. What do you mean? I couldn't respond. So absolutely just justified. And Sarah went to UBC law as well. So Sarah, if you're connected, hope to see your shiny face. And there's Denise. Hi, folks. So the questions would be, first of all, perhaps Sarah, we'll go to you. Where did you go to law school? And perhaps I've already said that, but what benefit did you get out of UBC Law for the students who are at a place where they're considering where to go for law school?
Thanks, Tony. Okay, everybody. I'll skip my normal Blackfoot stumblings. I went to UBC Law School with Tony and with Troy. And the benefit of going there is that they have a really great Indigenous law student program. They have wonderful supports and a great, huge group of ILSA, so Indigenous Law Students Association. They're really active, they're strong advocates, and they put lawyers into the world who are ready to fight on behalf of the people. So that's the benefit of going to UBC. I highly recommend it. Excellent.
Troy, Irene was just asking about you, and so we'll go to you next. How about for yourself? What guidance can you provide students who are interested in this area of law and this aspect of Indigenous governance? What attracts you to this area of practice? You know, embodying the term Nipa Wistamatuin to stand up for your people.
It's a fairly deep question, but I will answer your question with a tie. And there's the eagle feather. I believe that the connection aspect is really important as reflecting upon how plans change over time. Our paths change, and it's definitely a journey. And what makes it great is staying connected to your community. I had a disconnect in my community. My mother was, she informed me that on her certificate coming into the family that she was taken from or taken to, it was stamped Métis not suitable for adoption. And so that created a disconnect between her past and who she was. She was able to reconnect, and when that connection came back, it benefited me, and ended up in law school, and with great people such as yourself, such as Sarah, Michael Davis, Suzanne Dalton, Glenn Grandy, a number of people that I stay in touch with, not as much as I'd like to, but definitely form connections that I believe are bonds for life. As well as I article for Lano Chartrand, and also I worked with Denise Lightning. So all these people have played an important role in my life, and without colleagues and that sense of connection, I think I would be lost. So all I can say to students looking forward to a career in law is that persevere, but keep your connection, stay rooted with your community, and you'll get through it.
Denise, perhaps you can advise where do you see the practice of child and family and community services at present, and what space is there for the bright minds, students that are interested in a career in this area?
Thanks, Anthony. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
That's always the first question now, we always say.
Well, and we can see your bright face too, so nice to see you too.
I just want to thank Irene Morin for the prayer and the thoughts and the words, and acknowledge the justices and any other jurists. I want to acknowledge the lawyers that are here contributing, the students, Brittany. I've worked a little bit with Brittany, and it's really funny because we were always, it was always really important to us to meet face to face, to be together. And now we're in a world where I can't even see who's here. So we adapt, it's what we do. I'm also want to acknowledge, I saw the Tony Mandaman was here. I wanted to say hi to him. He's one of our super esteemed members of our community, somebody I respect a lot, former federal judge. And yeah, we've got, the students here, and I'm really, if you're a student, then obviously you're in school. And if you're interested in law, these connections, these people who are here, myself included, I think don't be afraid to reach out, because there isn't a lot of time. But people, we really like to talk to students or anybody who's interested in going into law and share our experience. It takes a little longer. When I went to law school, one of my reasons for going to law school was because I wanted to help our communities build our own justice system separate from the colonial system that we have now. And I wanted to have our laws be in place because I believe that they are the principles in our laws and our way is superior to what we have. We can teach everybody, not just for us. But over the 25 years that I've been practicing law, I haven't seen that happen. And my hope is really for the future. I'm a grandmother of 8, soon to be any day now a grandmother of 9. That's a wonderful gift for me, and I'm hoping to spend more time with those children, because they are the future, as you are. Just with respect to child welfare and why I went to school, it's really exciting now because there's a new law that says that the federal government, who really makes the laws for the whole country, they've acknowledged that for child welfare, looking after our own children, that we have that right, that we have that jurisdiction, and that it's up to us. And I think part of the problem with residential schools and child welfare is somebody else thought they could do a better job than we could at deciding what's best for our children and looking after them. And we're in a time now where finally the government is saying, you know what, we acknowledge that it is up to the communities. So what do we do when we are part of a larger society? The exciting thing about being a lawyer is that we've studied the law of the mainstream law. When I went to law school, I was told by my family, you know, you have to spend an equal amount of time learning our ways, practicing our ways, as well as going to school and learning their ways and their legal system, or else you're going to do more damage than you do good when you come out. And I've tried to take it to heart, but it's hard. So I would say what Troy said was very true. If you keep that connection to your family, to the wisdom in the communities, and to remember who we are, then, you know, that's where we'll get the wisdom to move forward. Law is a study of the relations that sort of govern people. How do we had our own laws, the natural law, and we have the laws in the courts. There's a lot to contribute to this new legal order that we have with child welfare. How will our communities handle going forward, exercising that power that we have that was taken away from us? So we need more young people to go to school and to contribute, because I see that as the hope. So don't be afraid to reach out to any of us. And I'm really happy to have been asked to be here today. That's all I have to say, actually.
Hi, thank you. I think everyone would agree with me that our speakers today, they've embodied love, honesty, humility, respect, truth, patience, wisdom. And we are so fortunate as a community to have everyone here, everyone present, students, teachers, people that haven't spoken as part of this community, as part of our relations. Kinana Skumpton. Folks, take care. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.